Come on in the room. Come on in the room. This is not how we normally start, but come on in the room. So thank you for your patience. We're just waiting for our guests to arrive. So welcome to A Beautiful Life. I am your host, JQ Lee. This will also be on replay, so you will be able to go back and listen in if you miss anything. So thank you again for joining us, and we are excited to have our show tonight with our guests. So stay tuned. There you are. Okay, can you hear me? You just have to add your audio.
Yeah, I was telling them to do some stuff before you could hear me.
Oh, okay. Good evening. Okay. All right. Good evening. So I usually like just to start prayer real quick, but we are actually live. So God, we thank you for this show. We thank you for it coming to fruition, and we are about to get started. All right.
Amen.
All right. And let me just do the intro. All right.
I'm living a beautiful life. I'm making a beautiful life. I'm changing, rearranging. I see your beauty. I'm
Can you hear
living
me?
a beautiful life. I'm making a beautiful life. I'm changing, rearranging.
Shanika, can you hear me?
Yes, I can't hear you now.
Can you hear me?
You're going in and out.
You are you able to hear me?
You're going in and out.
Okay. What about now? Because I can hear you.
You're I hear you, but you sound like a robot a little bit.
Still?
It's a
I
little
still
better.
sound like the robot?
It's a little better.
Okay. Okay, great. So good evening, good evening. So we had a few technical difficulties, but we are happy that everyone is on. And so we are excited truly to start this show and to finally have children's author Sheneka Brown on. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be on tonight.
So we know getting back into the swing of things with school and everything. How's
Yes.
that? What, a couple of weeks going? How's it been?
You know what? Honestly, it's been great. We started school a little earlier this year. But I do appreciate it because we have a whole week off for Thanksgiving now. So I'll take going in early. So, but yes, it's
So
going good
hopefully,
thus far.
so hopefully you enjoyed your summer
I,
and ready to get back in there.
I'm ready as I can be. But I love teaching. So, honestly, it's my life. It is my I always say it's my life assignment, it's my passion. So I can't see me not teaching at all.
Not doing it.
Is
Well, we're going to jump right into it. It was really very important for us to begin to go into identifying children authors and scope behind the passion behind why it is that you all are doing it. So I was happy to find there are quite a few children authors here in South Florida. And so I'm excited to bring you all on the show to be able to share, you know, um, you all with viewing audience and for them to be able to hear the inspiration behind your work. So talk to me and tell me we're going to jump right in. What
okay.
specifically was the thing that led to you wanting to become a children's author?
To be honest, what's so funny is that initially it wasn't on my mind. Actually, how it started was my pastor's son had penned his first book at 13 years old. and my pastor had asked me to edit his book. And I was like, wow. I said he can write a book at 13 years old. And I thought about, I'm like, what is something that I could write about? And then I began to think about the children that were in my classroom at the time. And I was like, you know what? I want to be able to provide them with relatable characters that they can see themselves through when they read the book, and see themselves being in, want to grow up and aspire to be. And so, and then I thought about me when I was a little girl as well, and some of the things that I wanted to do. And so one of the things that I always wanted to do was travel around the world. And so I kind of wanted to take my passion and what I was seeing in my classroom and combine that into an educational component. And that's kind of really what inspired the book. So it was a combination of two things. It was my pastor's son penning his first book at 13, and then some of the things that I was seeing in my own classroom that I wanted to bring to life for the kids that I was teaching at the time.
That's such a powerful opening in reference to what was the behind it, like him. What was his reasoning for writing a book and authoring at age 13?
Well, right now he's actually a film director. So, but he wanted to write a book to inspire kids that they were never too young to pursue their dreams. And that's actually the title of the book, You're Never Too Young. And he wanted to inspire kids and adults, right? That you're never too young to write about your dreams and go after your dreams, because he started his first business at 9 and he penned his first book at 13.
Wow, we love it. We love it. And so we definitely want to support it. What's the author's name?
His name is Aaron Avon Johnson.
Wow, that is amazing. And so just the fact of that, positioning is so important. Just the fact that you were in that place for them to ask you to edit. And then it started, making the ball roll in reference to piquing your interest for doing it. And so you said something, and we talked when we first had a conversation, just in reference to exposure, how important it is, even in your selection of characters, even in your selection of content, for the young people to see themselves in the book and to be able to see, that the possibilities, as he mentioned in his book, of not never being too young. Talk a little bit about the impact that it has had on the young people, being able to see relatable characters in your book and getting that information about all different countries.
Oh wow. You know what? Honestly, the book is actually now 4 years old, and it's still making a major impact among young children, especially young girls, because they're actually able to see their life through Chloe. Being able to dream big, you know what I mean? And to be able to learn about influential and trailblazing women that they have never, ever probably heard about, and how these women are the first actual female presidents of their respective country. And they're able to learn about the culture, the language, the food, and what life is like in that particular country. And these particular women in the book inspires the young girls to be able to actually dream big. And not only that, but they can be the first to do anything they want to be, because these women in the book are actual first female presidents. And so it allows girls, boys too, right? Because we don't want to leave them out, because I'm a boy mom. And but it allows them to be able to, understand that in spite of your circumstances, in spite of where you started from, that you can be the first in your family. You can be the first female president if you want to be. And so, the kids are definitely inspired by Chloe and by her journey, because at the end of the book, Chloe changes the narrative in the book, and she becomes the first female president and so forth. And so with that being said, it allows kids to let them know that when they grow up, even though you may start young with dreaming dreams, but your dreams can become a reality if you go after them and if you chase after them. And so, kids are able to see that, and by Chloe being a little brown girl, they're able to relate to that as well, that, you can do anything you want to be if you put your mind to it.
That's it. I mean, representation is so important. And, as you shared with me about your two sons, she is a boy's mom. Talk a
Yep.
little bit of them and their path and, just being able to influence you and even the career choice that you went into.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, dear little brown boy is actually inspired by my sons as well. But so when they were growing up, I actually got into teaching because of my two sons. But when they were growing up, when they were younger, even before I became a teacher, I realized that, it was something, my son wasn't reaching certain milestones when he was very, very young. And so I didn't know kind of really what to do. And I started to do some research, and I went through a program called Fiddlers and so forth. And, they began to tell me, some of the things that were wrong with him and so forth. And I realized the same thing that they were saying. I realized they were true because I was noticing that he wasn't reaching certain milestones. And so that, they placed my oldest one, Josiah, in SPED, which is special education courses. And he was he was placed in ESC. And I remember initially just crying my eyes out because I didn't understand all of that and what it meant, and then it's such a stigma around SPED and ESC, but it's also beneficial. But I didn't know that at the time before because I wasn't an educator. But fast forward, so I decided that, they were telling me the things he couldn't do and the things that he can do. And so I was like, you know what, Josiah? I said, do not ever, ever, ever in your life use the word that you can't. I said, because you can do all things through Christ that strengthen you. And I remember exactly what I told him. And I said, don't ever say you can't. And so I began to work on me at the time, because at the time I had dropped out of college. I had Josiah, and I just thought I was going to be I had the fantasy that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was, and there's nothing wrong with that, because, you work harder when you're at home, to be honest. And so, but fast forward, I decided that, what, in order for me to better help him, I needed to be a better version of me. And so I decided to become an educator, and I decided to find ways that I can better help him. And so with that being said, I had went and got my bachelor's in elementary ed. And then my second son had the same issue. And I was like, Lord, not twice. But with that, I mean, the exact same thing, but I was kind of more better equipped when I had Jordan. And then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to get a master's degree so I could better help him. But fast forward, I can honestly tell you, by the time they reach second grade, they were out of SPED. I was on the opposite side of the table. I went from signing ESC papers, IEPs, like IEPs. I went from signing IEPs, and I was signing gifted papers by the time they were in second grade. And so, but during that process, I was tutoring them at home as well as them receiving additional services at school. But, I always tell parents, it takes a village, don't just solely depend on the school to do it, but you have to also work with them at home. I tutored and worked with them at home. And then in addition to that, they were receiving services. So with the combination of everything and so forth, I can honestly say that Josiah graduated this year. He finished high school. He had 27 college offers. Yeah. So, it's just a testament that, no matter what man says, that it's possible, with God, and that, if you do the work and you put in the work with your kids and with your child, listen, it can definitely be possible. And so I went through that with both of them. Jordan is in high school. My youngest one is in high school. um he took his high school classes in middle school, and so he's on the track to graduating early. So it's I always tell parents, listen, it's possible. Just don't give
Yes.
up. And if that doesn't mean you have to become an educator. But work with your child at home, and if you don't have the time, always see tutoring as well.
You know, I love your that story is so inspiring, Shanika, because to say that it wasn't just one child, but it was two. To
Those
say
two.
that you didn't just throw your hands up in the air and say, this is the diagnosis that they've been given, and I'm just going to continue to operate from a place of receiving that. Like, you went in and you began to do the trench work. And because of doing that, I love what you said in regard to the partnership, because in understanding, going from not fully understanding, what the special ed classes were about, to understanding, what, if we can work together, they can get the necessary tools that they need, all while I'm learning to best support my child and advocate for them. And I think really, it really speaks to the power behind advocation. You not only went into the school system, but you began to learn about something that it ultimately ended up affecting both of your children. And so to say that they went in with you not having the knowledge base, not being in that career, you going into it, being able to sit down with them, now being able to identify some things, I'm sure even in your students, that
Yeah.
you are able to help them with because of what you've experienced with your son. And
Yeah.
again, it goes back to that exposure. It goes back to being in that place where you're experiencing various things. And now, because of what I know about this, I can share with others. And so to know that your son, the first one has now graduated,
Yeah.
27
Yeah.
school college offers, is like, that is huge. Talk a little bit about the impact that your book has had, because you've actually been able to connect with a lot of professional football players. Talk a little bit more about what our beautiful viewers, what the book has done as far as the attention that's been given to it and how they're supporting you.
Oh wow. It's funny because when the book first came out, it I was shocked by so much attention that it received and so forth, and the love that was just given to the book. I was just so elated by the support. Um, and it was so funny because Edrin James was the first one to support my book and to put it on Instagram. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
And then uh, um, Reggie Wayne, and so many other football players came and supported. Kevin Burnett had bought 38 books, and so many different football players had, just supported, the book and what it's about. And I think because I think it's because it's an educational tool, you know. Everyone that reads it always say there's something that I can learn from it, and I think, and also too, it's relatable. Kids are able to see themselves through the books. And in addition to that, kids learn vocabulary, they learn about the different countries, they learn geography, they learn history. And so they learn so much within the books. And in the stuff, and the information in the books is actual facts, so it's not really made up. We did a lot of research just to make sure that, it's as accurate as it can be, of course, with a little fiction in it as well. But, you know, it's just made such a just an impact. And, we did a couple of interviews on TV shows and magazines about the book and the impact that it's just making with children just across, the world. And I'm just elated just to have that to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to get this much exposure or this big, but I just been blessed to be able to just share my heart and the story of Chloe and Chris, just and the impact that they're making, just with students across to allow them to believe and dream big.
Awesome. Awesome. So we see the books behind you. So if
Yeah.
you can give the titles of each one and about the, because I know the one we came first, and talk a
Yeah.
little bit about why you brought Corey in as well.
So, dear
So
little
Chloe
brown
is
girl. Yep, this is Chloe. That's her right there in the front. So, basically, Chloe is a 8-year old African American girl that, of course, she travels around the world, and she goes and I can tell you, she meets these trailblazing women, who are just extraordinary and groundbreaking women who inspire her to make a difference and an impact around the world. And then we have, oh, my thing. And then we have little Chris. I don't know if you can see it. So this one is Dear Little Brown Boy, My Time Travel Adventures. And basically Chris, like Chloe, Chloe's in the present day, but Chris goes in the past. And so Chris meets
okay.
influential African American men who made history in the fields of science, sports, aviation, and education. And during Chris's journey, he learns the knowledge of knowing your past so you can change the future.
Awesome. Awesome. And so when you talk about, just the inspiration that your sons have been going into the field of teaching, you have now expanded your reach with your program. So talk a little bit about Promise.
Oh, wow. So I'm actually here now in my office. Because of the impact and the changes that I saw in my own two sons, I had decided to launch the Promise Academy, which is a tutoring center, and we tutor students in reading from grades K to 12. And so I wanted to also share my knowledge and expertise with others and with parents. To help them as well. So the same success that I saw with my two sons, I wanted to be able to share that with parents who were just like me, who may not, know what's going on with their child, or may need additional tutoring or additional resources, because at the time I didn't know, you know what I mean? And so now that I do know, I want to be able to share that. And so that birthed the Promise Academy.
And that's awesome. And so is both in person and virtual?
Yes. So we have in-person tutoring. And so we're located next to Spears, right in Davie, Florida. And also we do offer online as well via Zoom.
All right. And so for all of you all who are watching from all over the place, so she is in South Florida. And so Davie is that place that kind of sits between Fort Lauderdale and what you
Yes.
say, Hollywood.
Hollywood.
I think I think that is phenomenal with the Promise Academy. She actually has an event coming up. Talk a
Yes.
little more about that upcoming event that you have.
So we have a sip and paint. It's called Paint Your Piece. And so we have that. That's going to be Friday, September 30th from 6 to 9 p.m. It's going to be at the Promise Academy. So basically, Paint Your Piece is almost like a painting with a twist type of event. So, of course, it's going to be, we're going to have food and we're going to have drinks, and you're going to come and paint your piece. And those proceeds will help the Promise Academy so that we can be able to provide a few students who are not, able to afford tutoring at the time, or can afford tutoring, to be able to provide them with, a few sessions of tutoring for free, with those proceeds that we're going to raise from our sip and paint, which is called Paint Your Piece. And so that is going to be Friday, September 30th. And the event is on Eventbrite under Paint Your Piece.
All right. And so you actually had your grand opening when?
Oh, wow. We had our grand opening July 23rd. So we had it 2 months ago. So we're still a new.
All right.
A
All
new
right. So
business.
they've been in business for 2 months, and guess what? They open up the school year, getting your children prepared. I love the fact that you all are focusing in on reading. I think that's just so vitally important. As we begin to wrap the show up, share with our viewing audience, because as we think about what some of our young people, the students, are doing during the summer, and the retention rate, some of the challenge that they have when they go back because they're not necessarily in front of it. What are some things that parents can do to help them in that adjustment? And also, what are your thoughts on how they should um, pursue scholastic excellence throughout the entire year? Talk a little bit about the reading deficit you see in our children and how we can really assist them with that.
Definitely. So what we call it in the educational world, we call it the summer slide, right? And so basically that term means that there's a loss of education during the summer, especially when it's a long period of time. So in the summer, kids are out between 2 and 3 months. And so when you don't have your child in front of any educational piece, whether it's reading or any educational camps or anything to that sort, what happens is we call it the summer slide, because they lose in those 2 or 3 months, they lose a year and a half of learning. And that's based on the
Wow.
research. And so
Wow.
we always encourage parents to, during those summer breaks, at least have your kids have them reading over the summer, read to them at night, always present some type of reading material in front of them. You know, Ace, you can go online, you can put them, you got iReady, you have Tumble books. It's so many educational tools if, you can't afford to put them in the camp, right? So we have so many
Hmm.
educational tools online. You have starfall.com, you have so many free resources online that you want to put them in front of. And if so, you definitely, take them to the libraries. They're open, they're free, they have a lot of free resources. And in addition to that, you want to have your kids in tutoring. You don't want them to be able to go down that pitfall. You want to provide them with that early tutoring, so they can be readily prepared for when school starts, or be ahead of the game for when school starts, right? And so
That's
in the
it.
combination yeah, so in the combination with the summer slide, and remember, our kids were out during the pandemic. So you have the pandemic,
Mhm.
that's a year and a half that we were out, right? And then on top of that, if our kids are out for the summer, and then if they don't have that exposure, so some type of reading or educational material, you got another year and a half loss. So you're looking at almost 3 years, right, of an
Mhm.
educational
Mhm.
deficit, with our kids. And then when our kids come back, we wonder why we have fifth graders on first grade level, or fifth graders on first grade level. We have high schoolers on elementary level, because we haven't placed them in that position, right, to have that constant and continual exposure to some type of educational material, or to get them some type of tutoring or some type of educational camp to provide them that continual support and the educational services that they need to keep them readily available, and to be able to, just be ready for when school starts. And so that's one of the things that we really, really, really want to hone in on, just making sure that we continually provide that exposure for our children.
When I tell you, when because I have people who I know who are in um, the educational system, but to hear you say, how sometimes the high schoolers are reverting all the way back to elementary school, to hear you say, just to take into account the pandemic plus the summer slide, like, I think that's huge. And I'm happy that you shared the services they can get through the library that are, but I think we also have to get into the position of investing in our children. You said something that I think was so on point, and a great close for our show. in reference to not always being reactionary and having to get the service when find out something is wrong or they're in a deficit, but also to have tutoring to get them ahead of the game. Because
Mhm.
about your child getting ready for college, college is
Mhm.
very competitive. You know, they're looking not just at scholastics, but they're looking at, what are you doing in the community? They're looking at so many things. And so when you're talking about putting in um, your application or applying to various schools, it's a lot of things that they're going to look for as far as what did you do to have yourself presented in a way that our school would want to accept you as a student here. And so I love that you said that. I want to challenge every parent as a financial advisor. I really want to challenge every parent. Sometimes we shy away from things because we think I'm not going to be able to afford it. It's going to be too expensive. She's already putting into place events so that she can help parents with the fee for the tutoring services, but also connect with Sheneka so that you can find out it may not be as expensive as you think. And so this is an investment that that is worth it. Sheneka, share with our beautiful viewing audience how they can get in touch with you and be able to get more information pertaining to the Promise Academy and being able to purchase your books.
Sure. So I'll start with the book. The books are available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. If they're also at Walmart.com, Books of Knowledge. They're everywhere books are sold. You could just look up Dear Little Brown Girl, My Travels Around the World, or Dear Little Brown Boy, My Time Travel Adventures. So the books are everywhere books are sold. The Promise Academy, we are located at 5001 South University Drive. We are in Suite D, like in dog. We are in Davie, Florida. We're right next to Spears Bowling Alley. We're like next door to Spears Bowling Alley. You can email me at sbrown at thepromiseacademy.com. They can also email the manager of the Promise Academy. They can email D Delancey at thepromiseacademy.com as well. They can reach us at 954 870 5863, and we also have one where you can text us at 754-444 8872. And so that is our contact information for the Promise Academy.
All right. So you've heard it here on A Beautiful Life. Mrs. Brown, Sheneka Brown, author of 2 books. Are you working on anything coming up anymore?
Yes, actually. I said I was gonna take a break from books, but because I've been busy tutoring. But I do have one in the works that's coming up. Um, so hopefully it'll be out. I'm praying by March of next year. So before my
Okay.
birthday. So but I
Oh,
do have another one in the works. And they can reach us at the www.thepromiseacademy.com as well. I forgot our website. But yeah, we do have another book in the works. So absolutely. Another children's book.
so she is not only a busy lady, but an influential lady. She is definitely taking into consideration the needs of the community. I love people who are solution focused. Hey, we can talk about problems all day long, but at the end of it, what are the solutions? And so thank you for being a part of changing the narrative for our young people that they can see that they are not too young to knock it out the ballpark you're doing. So you all please get in touch with Sheneka Brown, find out more about the Promise Academy, find out more about her event, sure for her in purchasing the 2 books, and the 3rd book is coming out next year in March. And so Sheneka, it has just been an honor to have you on the show. I'm happy that we were finally able to get it done.
Oh,
But his timing
thank you
is
so
perfect,
much.
and I'm so excited for you with Promise Academy and all of what's going to be that vehicle. And so make sure that you keep us in touch, and so that we can continue to share with our beautiful viewers what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So I am again JQ Lee for A Beautiful Life, where this is the home of beautiful broadcasting. We are going to always share with you some of the beautiful things that are going on in our community. I think you get enough of the hot messiness that goes on every place else. But here you will hear from people who are doing phenomenal things, and we're gonna shout them out, we're gonna highlight it, and we're gonna keep the conversation going. So again, thank
Thank
you all for joining us, and again, have a beautiful, beautiful life. Good night.
you. Good night.